Yeah, what's up? Life of an Average Joe podcast here. Brandon Navarra. Let me adjust my mic. My mic, what's up? 1, 2, 1, 2. I need more snare in my headphones. Anyway, sorry. For those of you that know, you know. Oh, I'm wearing a hoodie not because it's cold outside, because I was working out, sweating. So enjoy this. But I needed to sweat out some of my gunk, fat and stuff. Well, we're at the Average Joe podcast, right? Last week, and mind you, it's early in the morning, guys. Let's see what time is it. Where's the clock? Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's 5:45. Yep, 5:45. I don't have Luke today. I will have him after school. So I was like, dude, I'm awake. I might as well knock this podcast up. I've been up since 4:30. Coffee's done. Let's go. But by 1, I'm going to be ready to crash. Right when he gets home, be like, dude, are we done? Can I go to bed? So this is the Life of an Average Joe podcast, right? That's what we do. And last week I did an episode, and I don't even remember what it was. It was friendship and FaceTime and all that crap. And I had a really good episode planned this week. And guess what happened, guys? Guess what happened? Life. Life happened. So life happened on the Life of an Average Joe podcast. Crazy, right? Life happened. And actually, less than 24 hours ago, life happened for me at work. So, jeez. Well, is it 24 hours? Anyway, we'll get that. I'm not talking about that stuff right now. And my days are confused. So, that being said, the episode I previously had will air next week, and we'll go back to some normal stuff before we get into spooky season. Only 2 more episodes left. Or is it 2 more episodes? Yeah. Or is it 1 more episode? 3 this week, next week. 3 more episodes left till spooky season, guys. And then it's on. I don't know where to begin. You know, I thought about talking about a lot, and I'm going to, because I think, guys, we're tired people. We're tired, you know. It's been exhausting. Social media is exhausting. Podcasting is exhausting. The things that we see on a daily basis, the constant information, misinformation. God, and the introduction of AI is crazy. Did you guys hear that AI track that they redid? 50 Cent, his track. Here comes my cat yelling. Shh, Roscoe, chill. They redid it, and they made it like an old school, soulful, bluesy 1940s, 30s, 50s song, you know. I recommend listening to it because it's crazy how good of a job it is and how soulful that song is. And it just goes to tell you how lyrics are super important. But the scary thing is, if you were to play that for somebody that never heard 50 Cent's original version of that song, they would think it was an OG song, right? They would be like, oh my God, like they were. And so that's, in one aspect, it's super powerful to show you how words are. It's very powerful to show you how words are and how they impact, and how just by the style of music and all that. It's not to say that what was happening in the original song was not powerful, but putting it in that perspective, it opens up a lot of other people's ears and eyes to the message. And that's crazy. On the other side, what is happening that I think it's scary as get out, that we can do that. That, I mean, like, you know, AI and all this can do that. Like, you know, everybody has fun with AI. I have fun with it sometimes when I'm making pictures. I'm like, I turn me and Stuart into OG gangsters. You know, I did an interview with Kendrick Lamar. Because of AI, like that stuff's funny, but God, it's scary. And you start to hear the voice matches. I mean, we're at a point in our life where it's already hard to tell the difference between real and fake. And you can't go to like trusted sources anymore because they're not trusted. Like, people would be like, well, just go to your trusted news source. Well, that's for news, but what about this other stuff, you know? celebrity stuff and music and all that, or but then you can't say what's your trusted news source. What is your trusted news source? They all have been agenda driven. And I'm not sure that they never were agenda driven, and some always leaned a certain way, but at least you got what was going on in the world. Now they are all very much agenda driven. Have you ever been on Fox's Facebook page and looked at the comments? There is never a negative. Like you can heart it, thumbs up it, and give it a care or angry. You know, Facebook sucks, but you can do that. If you ever look at every single thing they post, even if it's completely just outlandish, it's like 4,000 people hearted this. And I'm like, you're telling me that one person saw this and said, this is crap. And then if you go in the comments, it's so blind. I just read something about President Trump, and this is not all going to be political, guys. It's just going to be life. I read something about President Trump. He said he's blaming Antifa for the destruction and the graffiti and the anti-Charlie Kirk demonstrations and the violence that have come from it. It's Antifa. And Roscoe, shut up. And it's Antifa, right? That's who's doing it. That's who's doing it. Every single person on there was like, yeah, that makes sense. Blindly, not that, hey, it's probably just some couple, it could be a couple idiots, it could be this alleged Antifa organization, whatever. And I say that because I have my own thoughts on that. It could be Democrats, it could be other Republicans that hated him, it could be transgender, it could be just, this population, but because Trump said it and Fox News reported it as not as this is what Trump said, as this picture of Trump, like, and they believe it. It's crazy. So many people were like, yep, well, let's go. And then anybody that commented, like, what? Like, even said, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? Where's your proof? Attacked. It's scary how blind it is. So we get misinformation, and somebody could be like, Brandon, they were just reporting what Trump said. Yeah, they were reporting it, but they were reporting it with prejudice. They were reporting it not with prejudice. Yeah, I guess with prejudice. They were reporting it with bias, right? They're being biased because the way that they presented that article and the way they presented the picture, they were backing it up. It's crazy to me that you can't just report, no matter who you are, on either side. Like CNN's trash, like Fox's trash, like MSNBC's trash, like ABC's trash. Like they lean so far one way in everything, not even on the political side, just in one way or another that they won't report the news. Used to have it where there'd be specific shows or news hours or news shows or talk shows that would have those sides on to debate whatever the news was. But as a news source, you were there reporting it. That's not the case anymore. Then you throw AI into the mix and social media in the mix and podcasters like me and content creators that everybody's saying something. I just read this. Like, and then you got the dumb people out there that blindly believe everything. It's like those stupid, idiotic Marvel fandoms, DC fandoms, mostly Twitter. By the way, Twitter/X is a cesspool of depraved jackoffs. It's horrible. I understand why Zuckerturd copied Twitter and made Threads. But Threads is dumb too. I finally jumped on it just to check it out. It's dumb. But X, it's Drake stands glazing it up, which is how are they my feed? I am not a Drake fan. So why am I seeing people like Drake did this? I'm like, bro, Drake did nothing. It's constant toxic dumps. Awful. Awful. But you got people on there just saying whatever they want. People believe in it. And you mix that with AI and you're like, what is the truth? And they're like, well, you got to do your own research. Bro, you got to research deep on every subject to even find out what remotely is true. The way they take sound bites, the way they manipulate. That's one thing that Trump's not wrong on. They manipulate the media, but he does it too. So whatever. I'm sitting here going, dude, we are in a bad spot, bro. We're in a bad spot. Like we are in a bad spot as a country. And it's scary because, I'm 46, going to be 47. And obviously, as a dad, you worry about your kids, you worry about what they do. And, you can't control everything, but your job as a parent, especially when they're younger, is to protect them, right? Is to not shield them from everything. They're going to get hurt. They're gonna make bad mistakes in their life. They're hopefully not too bad. They're gonna have learning experience. You're not protecting them from those things. You can't put them in the bubble and hope that for the best, or put them in like a Terminator suit and they can get through life till they're ready. That does a lot of damage. But in the same sense, there are certain things that you don't do. With your 7-year-old or 8-year-olds or baby or 15-year-old. In my opinion, every parent's different. Obviously, I'm not perfect, but I still believe there are certain things you don't do. And I think about Luke when we do certain stuff. I knew it was a big thing to go to the Kendrick Lamar concert. I wasn't worried about the crowd, okay? I had somebody say, I can't believe you took your son there. I mean, the crowd, what? He was the safest he's ever been in front of 100,000 people. It was a vibe and, different. Would I have taken him to the Wu-Tang show? No, it's different. Also, he doesn't really get into Wu-Tang. Um, I knew where it was. We had seats. I protected him. I was more worried about the length of the show and how late it was going to be for a 7-year-old. Um, I took him to Disney. Was I worried? Of course. I keep my eye on him in the crowd. I keep my eye on him with food and water and heat exhaustion. And, but it's a vacation. Could something have happened? Absolutely. It's just like when we go, camping or the cabin. Do I worry about him? Yeah, but I'm not taking him to like a place where help is so far away. We got a helicopter out and we got to hike 5 miles because he's not ready for that. And I'm not saying that parents that have done that are bad. I just don't want that moment with my son. That I don't want that to be. My microphone just went out. That was weird. I hope you guys heard that. I don't want to deal with that. It's not pleasurable for me if I have to spend the entire time worrying about him. Um, so I think about where do we go? And, we're planning a trip to Chicago this summer. And I'm like, okay, yes, Chicago has crime. We know that. Chicago has crazy crime. There are areas, like the worst in Detroit, it's this. And anytime you go to a major city, it's a little bit different. But let's not forget here and, just down the street in Frisco, Texas, we had a shooting. We had a stabbing. Like things happen everywhere. Doesn't mean I'm going to take them down to the hood. Doesn't mean I'm going to let's go find out where these guys are filming, let's go where Kanye grew up, let's go, I'm going to take him to Oak Cliff, even though Oak Cliff's got some cool stuff. I'll go there and hang out, but I ain't taking him there, there's things that you do, but with everything that's going on and the protests that were happening, and with Trump now shifting gears, going somewhere else with the National Guard, my stance is if the National Guard is going and he's sending troops to Chicago around the time that we're supposed to go, I ain't going. Nope. I don't want part of that. I don't want the potential to walk into a hotbed of protest and National Guard. I've seen what happens. I don't need to drag my son into that. Period. We'll go somewhere else. We don't have to go to Chicago. It's not that deep. There's plenty of places to go. And then I'm like, start thinking, I'm like, okay, we're not going back to Florida. We had talked about going to Universal. I changed that because I need a car, priorities. I'm an adult sometimes. I need a car. Um, thought about going camping, cabins, he's talked about some other states, maybe take them to another ocean, and then maybe just do a bunch of weekend trips, It's crazy to me, though, that one of the reasons I'm talking about not going to Chicago is because that we could send troops there. What are we doing? Like, this is crazy to me. It's crazy to me that's where we're at as a society, because they want us to get used to seeing military on the ground. Period. They want us to get used to it because that's what's going to happen. This is not like some tinfoil hat conspiracy. Everybody 5 years ago that talked about that and said, no, that's not what's going to happen, and it's happening. oh, it's not going to happen. This isn't going to happen, and it's going to happen. You got both parties trying to realign themselves so they can have bigger districts, so they can keep their people. Like, it's so corrupt on both sides because we're all being played by a bigger agenda. It's not Republican, it's not Democrat. They're all owned by the same people. It's not conspiracy, guys. You know what I'm talking about. It's all money and greed. And they all know where the bodies are. But this is where we're at right now. I have to think about where I want to go. Like, I don't feel safe. I don't. I'm not being dramatic. Yeah. Do I go to a coffee shop? Can I go to work? Can I go to the gym and feel safe? Yeah. I'm always aware anyway. That's who I am. But I don't feel safe when I think about like events and stuff. Because at any given time, it's very obvious that something can happen. The Frisco Carnival has yet to come back because of what took place there. Now, Frisco covered it up, Frisco, Texas, and said it wasn't a shooting, it was kids fighting, and there was a big brawl, and somebody faked and pranked that there were gunshots. No, there were gunshots. Too many witnesses there said gunshots. There was nothing fake about that. You covered it up, and you never brought back the Frisco Carnival. A thing that Luke and I would walk to, a thing that Luke and I would go to. We opted not to. The day before we went was the shooting. They shut it down, never came back. So things can happen. FC Dallas game, crowd of people. It doesn't take much. Obviously, it's very different than an FC Dallas game, but Charlie Kirk went to speak like he spoke 1,000 times before and debate and all that stuff and got shot, killed in front of his family, in front of the world from an alleged 20-year-old sniper. Okay. We can dive into that, guys, because I got a lot to say. But the point is, middle of broad daylight in frickin' Utah. Okay. No, nobody's coming after me that I know of. My point is, though, I'm not going to be collateral damage for some nonsense. Again, you can't live in a bubble, but you got to think about that stuff. So, no, I don't feel safe. I don't get wrapped up in it. I don't sit there and hide out in the house. But just because I go do certain things doesn't mean I have to put myself in every position to where something could happen. You got to weigh out your options. Is it worth it? Is it not? And definitely if I'm taking my kid traveling, I mean, dude, I think more about school shootings than I've ever thought about. I hate that more so than our own government and governors and all that, because you could put the flag half down, half mast for Charlie Kirk. Guys, I'm going to say it. You can hate me if you want. It's fine. I didn't agree with most of what he said, 98%. I'm only saying that because I don't think I've heard 100% of what he said. And honestly, everybody has something they agree on. I didn't like the way that he debated because felt like it was more cut off. And the people that he was debating, some of them were allegedly educated. They really sounded dumb. So it really wasn't fair. That being said, I don't think that anybody should sit there and get executed and assassinated on TV in front of their family, in front of their kids, because those kids didn't ask to be born into this family and have their dad do what they did, and they had to watch their dad. That video's out there. That video, regardless if it's taken down by some websites or not, I also think it's insanity to me. I can't make a comment calling somebody dumb or stupid without getting flagged and removed, but you can show an assassination on every social media platform. It's so hypocritical. It's crazy to me. But regardless if they took it down or not, it's out there. So as those kids older, my dad's assassin. It's going to be written about somewhere, not in a history book necessarily, but it's going to be written. It's there. I don't want that to happen. That's horrible. Horrible. And we can sit here and say, well, look who shot him. Yeah, well, Don't get me started on that. Well, it was because of this, because he started speaking out against the Epstein files, and he did, and he started speaking out against support of Israel. And you know what, man, that's not unbelievable in the world we're living in. That's what happened. I believe more of the wag the dog Manchurian candidate stuff than I do of coincidence. And there's too many things that have happened. Too many things that have happened. COVID, Wuhan laboratory, leak, COVID, that money. Like, I'm not saying COVID wasn't real. I'm just saying, guys, at some point you got to go, everything makes sense. And no, not everything is this whacked out conspiracy. I agree with that. But sometimes things make sense. I was talking to my buddy, and she's pretty smart, you know, she's not some dummy. I don't want to say that too much and give her a big head because, you know, let's just pull it back a little. But she went down the rabbit hole and then started giving me all kinds of stuff. And my argument was this. Is some of that what she saw true? Yeah, I believe it. Do I think it's connected to something bigger about speaking out against Israel or speaking out against Epstein? I don't know. Maybe. But we have to be careful on what we read and the clips we view and who is viewing it, because there are people that are smarter than us that can splice things together and make it look perfect. And sometimes the people that are speaking don't even know what happens, mostly. So I can't just dive into that, you know? But I can tell you, JFK was killed by us, them. Islam did not kill Malcolm X. Martin Luther King was killed by someone we all know. Spoke out against Vietnam. They killed him right after that. They will silence the people that speak if you're not on their agenda. I believe that. I believe that. We're to the point now where they're starting to silence everybody. That's crazy to me. I mean, we went through the censorship phase. You know, we went through the censorship phase during COVID. Remember when that weird dude who owned Twitter before the other, you know, Bond villain bought it? He looked crazy. He looked like Charles Manson. And he was silencing people that were talking, questioning COVID, questioning the shots, blaming China, questioning Fauci. Like, I'm not talking about like the downright hate, just questioning it. He would remove those posts. He would remove certain stories from the Hunter Biden story came out. He was told by the FBI to silence it. How is the FBI getting involved in Twitter? I mean, that's not me making it up, guys. That's out there. He got in trouble for it. It was wide open. We found that out. How quickly we forget. Now, it doesn't mean that the government never sat there and censored us to begin with, but this was pretty blatant. Trump, well, see, it's all about transparency and freedom and blah, blah, blah. We should be able to say what we want to say. That's why he started Truth Social. Well, who's over at Truth Social? Nobody that is anti-Trump, unless they're trolling, or anti that agenda unless they're trolling, is hanging out on Truth Social. You might get all those on Facebook and TikTok and Twitter and back and forth and all that, but, and I'm always going to call it Twitter because X is just stupid. But you're not getting that Truth Social, so you get to spew your own propaganda over there. You're allowed back on Twitter. You're on TikTok. You're allowed on Facebook. Well, the White House is on TikTok, which is stupid. Trump technically, I don't know how that works really. Technically, the White House is an entity, so it can be on TikTok, but I don't think Trump can be on TikTok, or he can be on it, just not on, it's got to be on his personal device because that stupid law was passed because we allowed it to happen. But I'm not like, man, I got to start my podcast page on Truth Social. What? I don't care about that. But so I understand that they always had an involvement, but now is scary because they talked about how we got to be open and free to say what we want and down with the wokeness and all this. And now they're legitimately censoring what people say. There's a call out there to action by the Vice President, J.D. Vance, that says if people are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, we need to find out and call their employer and let their employer know what's happening. So essentially, you got to call and get somebody fired. Now, I don't think anybody should celebrate anybody's death, but I mean, there's exceptions. Hitler died, celebration. Osama bin Laden died, celebration. But I don't think we need to celebrate like if Joe Biden died. I'm not celebrating Joe Biden's death. I don't like him, never have, but I'm not celebrating his death. That's crazy to me. I'm not wishing for an ex-president or current president to die. I don't like Trump. I think Trump has lost his mind. I don't want him to die because look what that does to our country. And it's like, well, we'll just bring somebody new in. Yeah, you're going to bring J.D. Vance in. You think that's a freaking good idea? That guy creeps me out, dude. Creeps me out. But so are we gonna sit there and call and track down? So they're essentially saying snitch on your neighbor. This is what Governor Abbott did about the abortions when he banned the abortions. And he's like, if you find out that somebody's going to have an abortion, you should probably tell somebody. We can help them. So you want me to rat on my neighbor who might have to have an abortion because that's her right, her belief, whatever, or because, God, it's such a medical thing she has to. You want me to rat her out during the turmoil she's going through so you can help? How are you going to help? You're going to fine her? You're going to put her in jail? You're going to force her to have a baby? You're going to make a case out of it? What is that? It's Gestapo tactics from the party that is all about less government and for the people. How are these rich individuals less government and for the people if they're sitting there doing more government and taking and stripping away? Meanwhile, like I said, like going back to Charlie Kirk, you want to mourn his death because he was your supporter. You want to mourn his death because you believed in what he had to say. Go ahead. Cool. Let's lower the flags half-mast for essentially a podcaster. And I am not bashing anybody who's supporting him. Well, I kind of am. I'm not bashing anybody who's like friends. Like, let's just look at him as a person, as a dad. Okay? Now I'm going to look at him as the individual podcaster and all that. What? You guys have made more of a big deal about his funeral, about lowering the flags than you've ever done for any school shooting. Remember, by the way, there was a school shooting that morning. A school shooting that morning where this individual planned out Nazi-style killings. Like that was his inspiration at a school in Colorado that you haven't said crap about, that the media's barely covered because you're constantly regurgitating the story, the narrative for Charlie Kirk. You didn't lower the flags for those kids. Why? Because you don't give a damn about those kids. And there's going to be some swearing, guys, because I want to and I can and I can do what I want. You don't give a damn about those kids. Trump doesn't give a damn about those kids. Governor Abbott doesn't give a damn about those kids. Most of the people in politics don't give a damn about those children. They don't care. Why? Because if they cared, they would have done something about these school shootings by now. They would have tried to do something instead of giving us this thoughts and prayers make-believe BS. Well, we're making drones that'll come in and be able to take the targets. You know what sucks? By the time the drones are activated to take out the target that's shooting our children, by the way, 10 are already dead, and the guy or girl, most likely guy, has already self-inflicted himself, and he's dead too. So your drones just created Call of Duty at the school, at the elementary school, for no reason. Well, look what we got. We've got these dry erase board that formulates into a shelter where we can hide, and it's bulletproof. Okay, I'm glad it's there. But nobody said why. Instead of trying to do something about why it's there, they're just going to do it. You know, this year I contemplated getting Luke a bulletproof backpack. It was a short-lived conversation I had in my head because they're out there and they look cool. Like, it's not because they're they're bulletproof. They look cool. It just looks normal. And it's a backpack for two reasons. One, if there's a school shooting and you're running, it's to protect you. But two, if you have to hide under something or use it as a shield as you run, I didn't do it because I don't want to talk to my kid how to use a bulletproof backpack. That doesn't mean I'm a bad parent. That doesn't mean I haven't had the conversations about school shootings. That doesn't mean I haven't had the conversations about, hey, if dad says it's time to go, follow me no matter what when we go to a large event. But I don't want to have the conversation and teaching my 7-year-old how to live in fear, tell people he has a bulletproof backpack because that could like have reverse effects, and practice that. I don't want to do that. Why? Does that make me a bad parent? No, it makes me a dad that goes, dude, I want my kid to be a 7-year-old. Meanwhile, you got Donald Trump. Hey, what are you going to do about a school shooting? Well, nothing really. His words. Well, nothing really. I mean, it's tragic, but we just got to do something about the crime in this country. Fuck you. How's that sound? Fuck you. Fuck you. And Vance and Patel, how do we have a conspiracy theorist, idiot director of the FBI? I'll see you in Valhalla. Bro, you ain't making it to Valhalla. You know who makes it to Valhalla? Fucking Thor. You ain't Thor. You're not even close to Thor. You're an idiot. I'll see you in Valhalla. Bro, you were at a New York restaurant eating dinner, tweeting that the suspect in the Charlie Kirk's murder was apprehended. How would you know? You got your reservation flashing your little badge, idiot. Then you had to retract the statement and say he's still at large because you have no idea what's going on because you handled that case completely like a joke, much like the JFK case that was handled like a joke. Evidence got trampled over, key witnesses are missing, and you just put a patsy out there. This is what we have. Well, this guy, he's got to have, you know what, we found him. And then the mayor or the governor of Utah, I was really hoping he wasn't one of us. And then he does a 180 and says, somebody from Utah. No, you were hoping he was black or Mexican or somebody that you could sit there and just pin it on and further your agenda. That's the truth. That's the truth. You were mad that he was a white guy and allegedly a MAGA supporter at one point. But then you said, well, he lives with his dad, and with the help of his priest and his dad, they turned him in. And then you said he turned himself in, but there was no confession. So you're lying about everything because you don't know what's going on because Patel's over there freaking Harold and Kumar and up. I said it. That's what he reminds me of. I don't know why. It's not a racist thing, but whenever I see him, I just think of that movie, Harold and Kumar, because he looks like the guy from Harold and Kumar, especially in that one picture where he's like this. What? I'm in charge? I know, call me racist if you want. It's funny as hell. Shut up, get over it. Yeah, so tweets left or right, don't know what's going on. When are we tweeting? Why are we using Twitter and X as like our way to communicate with the world about horrible things? What are we doing? So you say this and you found out, and then you said, oh no, he lives with his transgender girlfriend. Oh, so did we make that up? Okay, so is he fighting on behalf of transgenders, but he's MAGA? Oh no, he lives with his dad. Oh, well, we're starting to find out that he could have had leftists involved. Left-wing liberals could have paid him to kill Charlie. What do you just sit there? It's like the old DC writers. What if we did this? What if we did this? What? But as long as the flag is at half-mast for Charlie Kirk, a podcaster, and kids don't get anything, and we can just continue to let school shootings happen, because why not? And we don't care because the person that did it is dead already. So, but you know what? As long as I get to stroke my gun in the shower, because my other gun ain't working, that's all that matters. The Republican Party is dog shit. The Democratic Party is dog shit. They don't care about you, and the sooner you realize that they don't care about your children, because if they did, they wouldn't cut funding for food. The kids would actually have good health care. They would actually make health care available. They would actually care about education, and instead of pigeonholing these teachers into making them do a test so they can get money for the school, because that's what it boils down to. And sooner or later, they're going to sell your kids, unless you're Trump and his buddy Epstein, which they've already done that. So human trafficking still biggest thing out there. Nobody's fighting for it. But now you got dumbasses like Governor Santos, Ron DeSantis going, if we lower the law a little bit, higher labor laws, we could get these kids doing some factory jobs at 14. So they already want to buy your children and make money off them. And then what's next? Well, if we lower the law when they can go in the military, we can get some of these kids in early. Yeah, go ahead. And then you just own our children. They don't care about your kids. They don't care about their own kids. They'll act like it. They'll pray to God every day. And there'll be an insult to Christians out there that follow and understand. We got churches saying, look, hey, don't celebrate a man's death, but what are we doing here, folks? Christians, which Charlie Kirk was, that he claimed to be. Don't celebrate a man's death. I agree. But what are we doing? I don't know, dude. I'm out on this one, bro. People get silenced. Diddy gets free. Epstein disappears. No list. This, that, and the other thing, because they don't care. It's all about power, money, greed. If you want to know where the devil is, they're running our country. You don't have to believe in Satan, but you can believe in evil, and evil is running our country. And they don't give a crap about the women out there. They make these women go through all kinds of hell to sit there and tell their stories about men raping them and trafficking them and doing it over and over again and making money off them and beating them, and Diddy gets a slap on the wrist. It's disgusting. Epstein, kids. You got prime ministers getting let go overseas because those people are like, look, you were on the Epstein? You were on the island? You have a relationship with Jeff? You're gone. You're not the ambassador anymore. Get out. Meanwhile, Trump's like, oh, it's a hoax. Oh, what exactly is a hoax? It's a hoax that Epstein was nothing. He's already dead. He got arrested. It's a shame for the victims, but everything else is a hoax. What's a hoax? Because if it's a hoax, then why did your person say there's a list? And why is this person in jail? And it's a hoax by the Democrats because they want to make a big deal out of it. Oh, it's a hoax because the Democrats are acting like they care about kids. Look, I'm pretty sure they don't care about kids and they want to get you out. But at least if they're going to get you out, let's open up the books and see what happened. What are you going to do about the school shootings? Nothing. I'm not even going to acknowledge them. We're building this over here on the White House, this new ballroom. Glad I'm paying for it. Glad my money's going to build you a freaking ballroom. Is that where you're putting the Epstein victims that you still hide? I don't know. You want to know why else people don't care? Because we got this story going on. You got this story. You ready for this, guys? I'm going to tell you this. You're going to think I went back in time. Trey Reed and Corey, I'm going to say his name wrong, Zucatis, 2 men found hanging in Mississippi on the same day. Hanging. One is black. One, he looks white, but he could be mixed. Either way, I don't care. Mississippi, and what I mean by that is I don't care mixed white. I'm just for the picture's sake. Mississippi is shaken after 2 chilling and eerily similar incidents unfolded on Monday, leaving families, friends, and communities devastated. Within hours of each other, 2 men, one a college student, the other a homeless individual, were found hanging from a tree in separate locations across the state. One was on campus. Trey Reed, a 21-year-old at Delta State University, Trey, black, I'm saying that for a reason, was discovered hanging from a tree in Cleveland, Mississippi. At approximately 7:05 a.m., the university police were notified of what appeared to be a body of a black man hanging from a tree near Central Campus near the pickleball course. The individual was later identified as Reed, and that an investigation into his death was ongoing. It doesn't seem to be any foul play. Officials disputed social media rumors that Reed was discovered with broken arms or legs. Bolivar, I'm saying that wrong, county deputy coroner told the Mississippi Free Press he saw no broken limbs. One of the viral messages read, "Tell me why we found him beaten with 3 broken limbs. What kind of suicide was that?" Guys, I am not an expert. I'm not a detective. Mississippi, still one of the most racist states out there. Come on. Black 21-year-old hanging from a tree. So, how many suicides do we hear about on a regular basis? We hear about them. It's a horrible thing, and there's so many more we don't hear about. In a car, jumped off a bridge, gunshot. It's very rare we hear hanging. Just like Jeffrey Epstein hung himself, right? It's very rare that you hear about a suicide from somebody hanging from a tree. You know how complicated that is? Will the branch break? Is it the right tree? And you did it in campus, on the campus. It wasn't hidden away from campus. It wasn't, in the middle of the woods somewhere. No, it was that's a message. Okay? That is a message. That is a message to all Black people. Somebody did that on purpose. Some racist, backwards pig effer did that on purpose. And I don't know if there's broken limbs or not. But you think I'm going to trust the Mississippi police? Really? And then you found this dude, and I got to find out more about him, hanging away from the campus. I don't know the distance, but isn't that weird? What's the connection? It was a homeless kid, didn't go to that school. So you can't say they were friends, suicide pact. Was he on drugs? Was that his dealer? Maybe they just got drunk, or maybe they did a bunch of drugs and said they're going to kill themselves. Lovers? Highly unlikely. If they went to the school, I could say lovers, didn't want to come out of the closet, killed themselves. I watched enough SVU. Or was this a statement? Because let's not forget, we did have somebody on national television in talking about the homeless people said, or, involuntary lethal injection to eliminate the homeless problem. And that person is still not fired yet, by the way. Just went back and reverted and talked about how they were making, they didn't mean it that way. They meant it this way. What is happening? So I encourage you to look at this and dive into what happened. But be careful what you see, because we are not being told the truth. This is not a suicide. And if it is, I'll come back next week and be like, guys, I'm sorry. He had a drug problem. He wrote a note. I'm still going to question it just because of where it is in Mississippi. Because it's in freaking Mississippi. Cleveland, Mississippi. So Cleveland sucks in Ohio. And apparently it sucks in Mississippi. They don't help the homeless. Our country doesn't help the homeless. We just kill them. We move them. I'll never forget when the city of Detroit moved the homeless for the Super Bowl. And it's not just the city of Detroit. Because we were having some struggles then, and we had the Super Bowl. We were hosting. We had to make the town pretty. So they moved them. They bussed all the homeless people to shelters and hotels, abandoned buildings, and kept them there with food until it was over. And then they said, okay, we don't care anymore. They put up false fronts on these burned out buildings. They put up these false fronts, Hollywood backlot fronts, to make it look like those buildings were legit. Now, I will say this, the city of Detroit came through. The Super Bowl was dope when it was there. But we just move them and don't care. We're going to kill them. It's borderline Hunger Games and Purge, guys. It is absolute. The more we realize it's us versus them, the better we're going to be. When we sit there and say it is truly us versus them, the better we're going to be. because they're not here to help. Vote all you want. Go ahead. Go ahead. You can start on the grassroots level. That's the best way to do it. And you can start locally. By the time they get to Washington, they're either squeezed out or they're converted and destroyed anyway. So all you can hope is for some new agendas to better fit. But guys, I got to be honest with you. I'm not so sure if we're done with the modern day elections. But we're living in some crazy, like, it scares me, and I feel bad for Luke and the young out there. You want him to be the voice. You want those kids to be the voice and the power and not be beat down, but they're already trying to strip their creativity away. They're trying to wear them down. They're trying to just like make them not kids anymore. Like, it's fucking ridiculous, man, that school is 7 hours a day from the age of like 5. 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's a fucking full-time job almost. And technically, it's more than that. They got to get up an hour early. They got to stay an hour. So, I mean, let's say it's 6 hours. Let's say it's 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day, that's a 40-hour work week for a 5-year-old. And you're not teaching them anything. What you're doing is putting them in a machine to get them ready to go to the machine known as work. Spit them out. And you're just going to silence them. If they get a little too chatty, you're going to put them on a pill because they got ADHD. You're going to, and so whatever happened to just kids being kids? Not everybody has ADHD. Y'all need to stop with that BS, okay? I'm not saying I'm not RFK. I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm not saying that people don't have, trust me. But the kid gets up out of his seat and runs around. He's a little excited. Oh, well, we should have him tested. Maybe he's just bored because guess what? When I'm at work, I leave. I walk out and I go stand outside or make a phone call or walk to get a cup of coffee because guess what? It's the same scenario. I think they get mad at me if I started running around in the store playing tag, but maybe I'll try that tomorrow. I don't have ADHD, so stop it. Well, I have ADHD. Bull. Sure you do. Sure you do. Shut up. I got an idea. Why don't you just actually teach? The one kid doesn't fit your mold and you want to sit there and shit on his cereal and tell him to do something else. Come on, man. But you know what? That's the way the government wants it. Get them out. They're trouble. Focus on these. Get them out. I need more votes. I need military men. And I'm not bashing the military. I love the military. Those guys they're doing shit I can't do. I'm sorry about the language today, guys. It's early in the morning, okay? I'll stop right now. But they need this, and we need votes. We need people in the workforce. We need taxes. Meanwhile, Social Security is not going to be there by the time I'm ready to use it. They've said it. Why do I have to pay it then? Why am I paying it? Oh, because it's not mine to begin with. Got it. Heard. Oh, well, didn't Trump just stop you from getting they raised the way you make your side hustle so you don't have to pay? Actually, yeah. They passed a law, so on certain side hustles, if I receive my Venmo money or whatever, I don't have to claim it. But here's the thing. All the other people that are involved in my side hustles raise their expectations. So I don't get nearly as much as I get 3 years ago. So it doesn't matter anyway, because I'm never going to hit that threshold now. Because guys like Zuckerturd and Twitter and TikTok, which by the way, is probably going to be shut down. I know what you're saying. If they sold it, you can forget the TikTok that we know. There's rumors that Oracle's behind it and the framework's behind it. It makes sense. Oracle saves all of our US data to begin with. So if they own it, I don't know what's going to happen. But at this point, you can get rid of it. And I'm on, Zhao Hongshu over there. You know what I mean? I'm on Redbook anyway, talking to my Chinese friends. But you can get rid of it. I don't care anymore. I don't. Because they don't care about the millions of people on there that make money off of it. And they can't get a piece of that money. And they want to censor what you say because they're talking about, if you talk bad about this situation, we're going to flag you. We're going to take you down. We're going to report you to your employer. You can't even have freedom of speech anymore. You got to follow their narrative. Again, I'm not talking bad about Charlie Kirk. I'm not celebrating his death. I'm just simply saying, what are we doing? I'm not diving into his family. I think his wife is freaking weird. I mean, that wasn't much of a mourning. That was more of a warning. when she said, and I don't know who she's talking to, but she creeped me out. I feel bad for his children. I certainly don't want anybody to die because that sets a dangerous, dangerous precedent in the United States if we're just going to start assassinating people again. Here we go, 1960s all over again. Come on. But TikTok's probably going to go away. Now, Trump said it. I don't know, we might let it die. I'd like to keep it for the kids. The kids like it. Oh, I bet you do. Oh, no, he's using that as a tactic to get a better deal with China. China doesn't care. Bro, they will let TikTok die. They let it last time. Go ahead, bye, US. I mean, yeah, we were consuming a lot of product and making a lot of money in advertising dollars, but Hulu can still advertise. You don't think they're going to get the advertising dollars still for other countries? They will. And by the way, China has its own version of TikTok. And, you guys think that you're confused. They have their own, and I'm not talking about the Red Book. I'm talking about their own version of TikTok. It's different. It's different than ours. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. But more so than ever, it's just time to pull it back. And it's time to take care of your own. Keep your eyes open. Take a look around you. Look behind you. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't consume garbage. Be intelligent. Be ready. I'm not trying to be a creep. I'm not trying to be a psycho like apocalyptic into the world survivalist. I'm just saying things are about to get ugly, even more so. And the people you thought you were friends are not going to be your friends. And you're going to start seeing people rat on each other. And not that I need to get biblical, but if you read things in the Bible, they talk about this. So just saying, choose your own adventure. Brandon's out next week. I promise you the episode that I said. So it's a good one, too. It's a good one. All right, guys, I'm out. I got to take a shower because I stink and I'm getting sweatier and I can feel it dripping all over this grossness. So I'm out.